now this solution is actually workable for the whole team instead of you just being boss person at the top shouting down unreasonable orders. Hey guys, Abby Johnson here with Matterhorn Business Development. As you can tell from today's title, I'm going to be talking to you today about how to be a better CEO, a better leader, a better business owner. Really quick before we get into it, if you are a business owner, I wanted to let you know about our free community Growth Hub for Entrepreneurs. This is a place where you can go and interact with like-minded business owners while also learning how to grow your business profitably. So within the community, we've got free trainings available for you. Click the link below to check that out. All right, so I've been working with business owners for several years now, and I see some common mistakes when it comes to leadership. And I've heard from both sides, right? I've heard from the employee side. I've been an employee. Pretty much all of us have been an employee, so remember that in today's video and in your leadership. But I've seen the same recurring themes come up on calls with clients. So the first thing I want to talk about is be the leader that you would want. So again, we've all been employees before. Most of us have had that crap boss who was not nice, not friendly, not caring, not understanding, who you hated, right? Most of us have experienced that. So don't be that guy or gal. Just because you're big boss man now doesn't mean that you need to treat people crappily. Be the type of leader that you always wanted to be, and people are going to notice that. Your employees are going to stick around for that, and that's what's going to differentiate you from your competition. This means things like make policies within the business or make bonus plans within the business, make compensation decisions based on what you would want to receive. If you were in that person's shoes, which you have been at one point, would you think that's a fair bonus plan? Would you think that's a fair policy? So if you want to retain your good employees, which I know a lot of you do, then it's important to be able to look at it from their viewpoint and see if what you're saying or doing is actually fair. Now, obviously, there's a little bit of a caveat to this because once you are a business owner, you sometimes more understand, oh, that's why my boss was telling me to do it this way, or that's why the company had this certain policy. And sometimes you have to draw the line and the employee doesn't understand your side. But that's also where communication and letting them and educating them on why a thing is a certain way comes in. Okay, leading into my next point here, it's important to get feedback from your managers and the people who are actually boots on the ground. So if you're watching this video, you probably have employees under you, and especially this applies to you if you're not in the day-to-day. But even if, let's say, you have a service company of some sort and you've got techs out in the field and you haven't been out in the field in a year or two, maybe things have changed. Maybe technology has changed. Maybe customer behavior has changed. Maybe driving has changed. I don't know. But either way, you're not the one out there doing the work anymore. So sometimes what can happen is there can be a disconnect from the CEO or the leader up at the top and the people down here actually doing the work. So get feedback from your managers, get feedback from your workers. Again, if you're instituting some sort of new policy or rule or trying to make something more efficient, I would get that feedback directly from a manager or worker because they're the one actually doing it. For example, this is a pretty obvious example, but let's say you have a lawn care company and you decide that you want to improve your customer service. So the technicians now need to knock on the door and talk to a homeowner every time they're there. In your head, this is a good idea. This is going to make it more personable. You're going to make sure that the customer is completely satisfied after every mow, et cetera, et cetera. But let's say you institute this without talking to your team and just say, this is the new rule. And then the next week you're like, why was there so much overtime? Why did all of this work take so much more time? And you're upset that everyone had overtime. Well, it was because they spent a lot of extra time trying to chase down the homeowner and walking around the house with the homeowner, and the homeowner picking at every single blade of grass and making sure that it was all a quarter of an inch high. That's not really a realistic policy to have in place, but you might not think about that because you're not there in the day-to-day. So let's say you went to your crew lead and you said, hey, I want to improve our customer service and this is what I want to do. In order to do that, what do you think? Hopefully you can have an open dialogue with them and you give them that space to give you feedback. And then they can say, hey boss, this isn't going to work. We're going to be spending so much extra time. The homeowner isn't always there. If they are there, every time I've knocked on the door, they get upset that I'm interrupting them in whatever they're doing, whatever the reason is. But then you can say, okay, well, do you have an alternative idea? Like, what else could we do to improve our customer service? And then maybe the cruise lead's like, well, I think it'd be great if we use our CRM to send a survey after every launch, because I know our CRM has that feature and we're just not using it. And then you're like, wow, I didn't know that feature existed. That's great. Let's do that. So now you have come together and collaborated to create a solution to the problem you were trying to solve. But now this solution is actually workable for the whole team instead of you just being boss person at the top shouting down unreasonable orders. Okay, the next thing I want you to think about is setting a good example. So if you have certain things that you want your employees to do and you have certain standards that you want them to uphold, it really starts with you setting the example for all of those things. And this is something that gets embedded into your company culture, and it starts with you, the leader, setting the example, and it will go down the org chart and everyone will start to follow that example. So if you want them to be dressed or presentable in some certain way, it starts with you. If you want them to be on time every morning, then you better be on time every morning or every meeting that you're there, whatever it is. But you really have to lead by example. You can't expect someone to look cleaned up and professional when you're coming in every morning looking like a slob in ripped up shorts and flip-flops and stains on your t-shirt. They're going to follow that. They're going to follow your lead. So if you want them to look presentable, you should look presentable. This also comes down to how you treat people. There's this quote I love from Stephen Covey. He's the author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The quote is, always treat your employees exactly as you want them to treat your best customers. So again, this is leading by example. If you treat them like crap, it's going to put them in a bad mood. It's going to show that it's okay in the workplace to treat others that way, and it's going to bleed over into your customers. So treat your employees as if they are your customers. And this also comes back to the first point of basically treat people how you would want to be treated. Would you want to be on the receiving end of that? Okay, lastly, if you want to retain your employees, then you need to create a future and create a vision for them. You have to show them where the business is going and where they fit in with that. So for example, I have a pressure washing client and he really wants to create a solid team. He wants them to be there for the long term. And unfortunately, with most of these home service industries, a lot of these technicians are just clock in, clock out employees. They're just there to get their paycheck, to be able to pay their bills, clock in, clock out, go home at the end of the day kind of thing. My client really wants to create a team, a family, and obviously have people stick around. And obviously, you can talk about pay and whatever bonus plans, there's strategies for that. But what's important is to show a future for someone. So what we did for him was we looked at how could we structure as the business grew so that someone could actually move up and have a future in the business. So we laid out how each crew would be structured, how there would be a helper, and then the helper would move up to a technician, and then the technician could move up to an assistant lead, and then the assistant lead could move up to a lead, and then the lead could eventually be a manager over multiple crews. So we have this stair step of here's how you move up in the business. And then we also attached the pay to that. So if you want to make more pay, it's not only about, okay, you've been here for a year, so you get a raise. It's have you learned and taken on the skills necessary to move up into that next role that has the pay that you are wanting. We actually have another video on this called The Easiest Way to Hire and Decide on Pay Structure, where our founder Greg goes more in depth on this. So the point is, no matter your industry, there is a way to create a vision and a future for your employees, and they're definitely going to stick around more if they know, A, that they have a job for the long term, that you're gonna stay there, and that you have a vision for growing this business and making sure that it's around and that they don't have to get laid off next week. But also just for themselves and their own self-pride, most people want that. They want to feel like they're actually contributing and helping and moving up. So those are my tips on how to be a better CEO and leader. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you're a business owner, please check out our Growth Hub for Entrepreneurs community, where we have other like-minded entrepreneurs and monthly trainings that you can get instant access to. Just click the link below. I'll see you inside there.